Greetings Berserkers, FiOth here, and in this vid, the much requested spear build that I put together, I will be breaking down a really advanced spear build that will require you get some pieces in order to put it together, but it's gonna give you a framework even if you're just starting out. So understanding the logic behind my choices and implementing it into a build of your own, you will be able to get a head start with a spear damage and overall effectiveness early on in the game, and as you reach the higher echelons of the available weapons and armor, you will be able to create something that is really beastly. I put a lot of thought into it, it has a lot of moving parts, so please stick until the end and take heed of my methodology and thought process in order to make this work. One last thing before we get into the nitty-gritty, you can see here the metrics for the recent vids I've been putting out. I've been dishing out a ton of Khazan content, and although it looks like people like it, they don't necessarily subscribe or comment or hit the like button after they're done watching. So if you can help me out there, I will be super grateful. Without further ado, let's get to it. So we're here in our gear screen and we haven't equipped anything. You will need to be at least in New Game Plus for the weapon choice. If not, I will give you an alternative, but let's start with the ideal scenario. Going to weapon and equip the Killing Flash Spear. Now, the reason why we want the Killing Flash Spear is because it gives us lightning attributes, that is lightning damage, for 10 seconds after a Brink Guard. You will be Brink Guarding all the time in this game, and you can retain this buff that will scale with your overall damage, reaching insane amounts of DPS when properly utilized. We're talking 4 digits here per swift attack, so don't miss out on this weapon because it's not part of a set. It is powerful in its own right. Now, if you don't have the Killing Flash, I recommend the Temple Knight Spear with one of its accessories, either the necklace or the ring. Phantom Heatwave damage is very good, especially for new players who will use Phantom Heatwave in order to stay safe, and Absorption is very nice for getting additional elements into your attacks. Elements will not stack, will overwrite each other, but if we don't have the Killing Flash, we don't have the lightning attack anyway, so this will give you some elemental damage for no cost whatsoever. It's a really powerful set, and I would seriously consider using it because just the spear and one of the accessories will give you the entire set bonus if we're using the following item. For our helmet, as you probably already realized, we're using one of the legendary jars. Every single late game build that I can think of will leverage the fixed attribute of this. Set item requirement decreases by 1. Not to mention the 10 points you get in one of the 3 available attributes according to which one you equip. This reduction in requirement will allow you to trigger at least a 2nd level in one of your equipped pieces and thus gain some attributable benefit. So using this is a surefire method to optimize your builds if you're using multiple set pieces. Now, going to our chest piece, we will be using a Butcher's Pauldron, and we want this because we want to up our swift attack damage multiplier. This is super important. Whenever you see the multiplier next to damage in this game, it means that this is multiplicative of stuff that you have already equipped, so it takes all those numbers and multiplies them by the shown amount. This is insane in a numbers game like Khazan or Neo or Wulong, because what it does is elevate the entirety of your setup by an amount shown here. It's not exactly numbers you can crunch by putting this and that together and then multiplying. There's a lot of factors going in. There are caps, there are soft and hard caps to this. But trust me when I say that having this on will gonna help you immensely. Going into gauntlets, we will use a Crushed Dreams wrist guard, and we're gonna do this because we get confront damage 10% right out of the box without anything else. Confront gives you additional damage when fighting a single enemy, and pretty much every substantial boss in this game you're gonna fight one-on-one, so you're gonna get a benefit out of this just by wearing these gloves. Then we go into our pants and we're gonna wear the Butcher's leggings. This will give us attack chain up to 5 stacks, and I'm gonna show you what this means. Increases stamina damage by 5% per stack, removes all stacks upon attacking at maximum stacks. Now, if you've been watching the gameplay I've been showing, you understand that we're gonna spam a shitload of swift attacks, putting enemies into stunlocks and decimating both their stamina and their health. So having more of that that is definitely great, and you will be resetting and reacquiring it all the time. Now we go to shoes and we use Butcher shoes and get swift attack damage increase 15%. This is insanity, as you can probably understand. We're stacking this stuff one upon another and getting huge ass benefits. So if you manage to get this setup just from the armor, you are already on your path to success. Suffice it to say that rolling damage multiplier increase on your boots, defense on your pants, and stamina recovery and stuff like that is gonna help you immensely. Remember, every single piece draws from different pools of possible random attributes. So for example, pants can get defense, a chest piece can get defense, and a helmet can get defense, but gloves and shoes cannot, so you can roll other stuff there to complement. Unluckily, this game doesn't allow you much finesse when it comes to what you pick and choose, so just roll the good stuff and save your economy some leeway, because if you're not playing New Game Plus Plus and you're not rolling legendaries, you will be disposing of that gear at some point, and bringing your gear up to the level you're at every couple of missions is gonna be a nightmare. The system is very problematic at the moment, so just pick something you want, optimize it to a certain degree, and then when you can replace it with something of higher level, do that. Now you might have noticed that the fixed attributes on legendaries are twofold, and this is the reason why I'm picking the stuff I'm picking and not just randomly picking the top or the gloves and so on and so forth. Butcher's pauldrons give you swift attack damage and charged attack damage. Crushed Dreams wrist guards give you enemy electrocution damage and confront damage. Butcher's leggings give you swift attack damage and charged attack damage multiplier, and then the Butcher's shoes give you Fury accumulation, Fury's spirit renamed, and Howling Blade damage. This is useless for us, but it is one of the two bonuses. We cannot remove it and put something else here. If you're putting this build together at a higher level, you might not have fixed attributes at all, so don't fret with that. Just build with what you have, so when you reach epic and then legendary, you will get some fixed attributes and you'll be able to work with them. Now for our ring, very important to use Elamain's ring. This is a guaranteed drop later in the game, but earlier on you can craft it using the blueprint for the Crushed Dream set. What it does is give us lightning attack damage whenever lightning activates, and you guessed it, lightning will be activating because we're using Killing Flash. If, as I said earlier, you don't have Killing Flash yet and you're using another spear, case in point the Temple Knight spear, you can equip its two accessories or one of the two accessories, and I will provide an additional accessory suggestion in order to optimize. You can always use lightning enhancers, the consumable, to get the damage out, so don't worry, there are alternatives to putting this together. Now if you have this on legendary status, it gives you an additional 5 lightning attack, and Rod Smite will give you up to 3 stacks of lightning attack damage whenever you use it. That's the attack that comes out every time you bring guard or guard and then attack with its swift attack right after. So you build a lot of lightning damage like this by just fighting efficiently. It's a very parry focused game, and eventually this buff that you're getting from 2 pieces pretty much, the ring and the spear, will accumulate to something that is really impressive and will stack up the damage really nicely. Now for our necklace, I am using a necklace of strikes from the Cutthroat set. As I said, if you want to use the mercenary spear, you can use that piece, but if you're using the jar that will allow you for more leeway, you can always use a necklace of the Blood Moon. People sleep on this thing so much. The strategy set gives you a 30% chance to receive 50% damage whenever you are hit. If you're trying to survive the final fight of the game, you can get out of a lot of bad situations by using one of these 2 pieces tied to the strategy set. Ideally, you want Necklace of Strikes because you will be attacking the back of enemies a lot with this build, because it provides the tools to get behind the enemy and whack him up. So don't sleep on the Necklace of Strikes. It is harder to utilize with a greatsword and so with the dual wield, but the spear gives you so much mobility, it's very easy to get behind them and dish out the pain. Now, since I have a shitload of mastery points at this point, I didn't think it necessary to deactivate all the nodes and you watch me reactivate them, but I'm gonna go through my thought process for this. First and foremost, you need Moonlight with every spear build, because this will chain into Moonlight Stance, and Moonlight Stance is extremely important. It pretty much makes the spear what it is. It creates an after image of your character dealing additional damage, super important. Grab everything from Swift Attack, and if you're using Killing Flash, you're getting Moonlight Stance Onslaught that makes Moonlight Stance more effective. and does not end it whenever you use Crimson Strike, which is the buffed brutal attack whenever you go into a brutal attack after a full moon. So this is pretty great, and if you're using Killing Flash, you get it for free. Amazing stuff. If you are not using it and you go with the set that we discussed, you will be getting this perk and the perk in the guard column. So wait until we're there and we will discuss this. I get everything out of the potent blow tree. Of course, Shadow Cleave is just a normal heavy string. You can just use it to slice around enemies or focus little groups. But everything else here is stellar. Spiral Thrust, very good range, poison damage. 0 point, amazing triple jab after a heavy, and after image thrust is very good for keeping them in the stun lock. When you run out of stamina, you just hold your activator button down and you perform a lot of jabs. If you have lightning element on your spear and use this, it's very easy to build up electrocution. And as you saw in the gear piece set parameters, if enemies are electrocuted, they take even more damage, so this is great. For Chain, Shrewd and God, I get Chaser and then go into Assault. I tried to deal with Shadow Reversal. It's very finicky. In Assault is super easy to use. It's pretty much a finisher for your swift attack or an attack that will come out of a single swift attack, and it can chain all the way up to a Punisher when the enemy is exhausted. 3 damage without any pass. Go pick Chase the Devour, gradually recover 1 Fury charge every time an enemy is exhausted. You will need this to hammer them where they are eventually exhausted. For Shrewd, pick up everything whenever you can. You see I have 2 out of 3 here. That's because I'm investing in other stuff, and also my common page is filled with stuff that probably won't be needed until much later in New Game and New Game Plus. You want this to be 3 out of 3 if you're starting out. Everything here is amazing. Shadow Strike in particular is the tool we will be using to get behind enemies as a counter attack, and once you're behind them with this build, they are screwed. Even bosses cannot withstand the damage we'll be dishing out. Crescent Strike is not my favorite attack of the batch, and that's because the damage is not really that good no matter what I've been doing. It changed into Crescent Strike Massacre. This is why I pick it, to be honest, because this creates a wide arc of damage, and this wide arc damage will actually take out trash stuff. The spear suffers from the fact that it has a lot of stabby motions that will single out enemies and destroy them, but does not have a lot of attacks that cover a large area. So Crescent Strike Massacre is a solution to this problem. Everything on God, of course, Endurance, Breakdown, Rod Smite, as we said, will build up those electrocution charges. Phantom Heatwave is the bread and butter of using the spear defensively. As I said, if you're using the set that we have as an alternative, you can go into Absorption, you will activate it automatically, and that will allow to absorb the element of the enemy's attack. If not, you just use it defensively, and you dish out damage whilst you're blocking everything but unblockable attacks from larger enemies. This is great and will help you stay alive and optimize your defensive combat style. Eagle Wind is probably the most hype attack of the entire repertoire. It will start by being a triple combo that deals good melee damage and stagger, then it will transition into Gale that will create shockwaves, and then will go into Storm that makes the melee portion weaker but the shockwave, and that means that if you're in melee range, you will be hitting for slightly less melee damage, but you will also be hitting for slightly stronger shockwave damage. They will both apply. This will also destroy any incoming projectile, which is preposterous, so pick it up, upgrade it all the way, and have fun. There is no real reason for me to talk about commons, just grab everything, prioritizing counterattack and resources. I'm not using Reflection, I find it extremely unreliable and it pisses me off. And also when you go into brutal attack, you can use Rip and kinda ignore Fury, because ideally you wanna attack them with the brutal from the front to heal and recover your stamina to press the assault. Descent and stuff like that I don't even bother with, they're more for show, for shits and giggles, not as important as other stuff. And when it comes to Phantom Form, this is not a Phantom Fort build. I just put in points here because I have the points, and you don't have to do this until you are brimming with points to spare. So I hope you found this useful, people. This has been my first spear build. There are more builds to come, of course. I've already covered a high survivability dual wield build and a very powerful greatsword build. You can find them right here. Subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell, and until next time, be well, stay frosty, and always shout for perfection. Cheers!